How to handle aggressive chess players. I have 2 videos in this series already. This is the 3rd. In this video, we're going to look at how to handle advanced chess players. I'm going to play 2 games against 1,800 plus players. So let's dive in. Let's take a look. All right, so let's start this game up. So here we have the Accelerated Dragon. Now, you know it's the Accelerated Dragon because they play g6. After c5, if they play g6, they're playing the Hyper Accelerated Dragon, and it is a very aggressive chess opening. After bishop g7 or knight c6, which is played, we normally play knight c3 in the Sicilian, but you don't want to do that against the Accelerated Dragon because that plays right into their theory. If they're playing the Accelerated Dragon, they know the theory, and the theory is very sharp. They're also very aggressive chess players because it's a very aggressive opening, hence the name Hyper Accelerated Dragon. You can't get more aggressive of a name than that, but you don't want to play into it. So you don't want to play knight c3. You actually want to play c4, which is called the Maroczy bind, if you've ever heard of that, and this slows down the dragon. Now, my opponent played queen b6. I never saw this follow-up. I'm supposed to play knight b5, apparently, but I didn't know that. It's also a blitz game, but I didn't know that. So knight b5 would be best. If he plays queen a5, which is the follow-up, I just play bishop d2, hit the queen, block the check. However, I played bishop e3 here. I just developed, and I gave my opponent a pawn, which is good. That's the best move, actually, for him. But it does play into the theme of the game of aggressive chess. Now, these are aggressive advanced chess players. I have 2 videos before this. This is the 3rd video where we have aggressive players or aggressive concepts that a lot of players will, aggressive type of moves that they'll play that aren't good. These moves aren't bad. These moves are very good. These players are good. They just have an aggressive style of chess. So after this move, I played knight b3, defending my rook. After knight c6, I bring my knight into the game, and he plays knight b4. Again, he's coming after me, and this is a good move. So he's aggressive, but he's also a good player. He's an aggressive, sound player. Very 2 good combinations to have. So what do I do here? I have to just keep a cool head. He's going for knight c2. I just simply defend knight c2. So if he comes down here, I have 2 defenders on it. So he cannot do that. He brings his knight to h6. Now, why h6 and not f6? He wanted to keep his bishop. He didn't want anything blocking his bishop. And he wanted to come to g4 anyway. So I guess he figured h6, there's no reason not to play that. I play bishop e2. He castles. I castle. He takes another pawn. And this is where I think he gets a little too greedy. I develop my knight. And now he comes to g4. So notice how he waited for me to develop my knight to come to g4, because if he comes to g4 now, he loses his knight. So he comes to g4, and the last thing I want to do is give up my bishop for knight, give up my bishop pair on an open board, especially when I'm down material. That's just going into a losing endgame or a losing middle game to an endgame, but I don't want to do that. So here I avoided that. I said no thank you and offered a trade of bishops. Now, I expected something like this. He has more material, but I do have a lead in development, so I do have compensation. However, my opponent did not play that. My opponent played e5. Now, e5 looks good, and again, it plays into the theme of this video of aggressive chess, and I can tell why he played that. He played that because I'm not going to go back here because I don't want to give up the bishop pair. So also, that would be a really bad move. So he figured maybe I'll just come back here on this diagonal, and then he'll play bishop h6, attack my rook, and give me all sorts of problems. However, e5 opens up this diagonal, which is a mistake. So instead of just playing defensively and letting my opponent push me around the whole game, I was able to look for an opening, induce him to make an opening, and then counterattack. So still the same themes apply. You want to counterattack. Always look for your opponent's threats, but don't get tunnel visioned. Always kind of see the whole board and look for your counterattacks along the way of the game. Now, my opponent should not give up a whole piece, so he should just move the knight away and then drop the exchange, and that's the best way to go. I'm better here, but that's the best way to go. Instead, he played rook d8. Again, giving up a whole piece, which is bad, but I just think he's such an aggressive player. He just wanted to do something crazy, open up the game, and try to maybe get my queen. Maybe, I don't know what he was doing here. Okay, so he moves his queen out of the way. He didn't want to get his queen trapped, so if he let his queen stay there and played like a random move, rook a1 is pretty bad. So he has to come here, and he doesn't have many squares for his queen. So he gets his queen, into safety, and then I push the pawn, attacking the queen. He comes to f6, and now I just put my bishop on a better diagonal, improve my pieces, and again, he's going for this pawn. He's trying to force things open, trying to, put pressure on me. However, I don't play into his game. I don't take and open up the rook or anything like that. I simply move the bishop back to d2, which looks like a passive move. It looks like he's the one calling the shots, and I'm being very passive. However, bishop d2, psychologically, against a player like this, it gives kind of like empowers him. He feels like he's pushing me around. When actually, I'm the aggressor. I'm really the tiger in the high grass here, and I'm preparing an attack here. I'm preparing a threat, a skewer on g5. My opponent missed that. He just took the pawn, and I hit my opponent with this. So now I'm skewering the queen and rook. He has to move the queen away. I took the rook. He takes back the bishop, and I take the pawn here. Now again, in this position, he's losing, but he should play rook b8. However, because he's such an aggressive player here, he couldn't help himself. He played queen c7 to attack my knight, and he needed his queen on the back rank here, guarding the rook and actually guarding mating threats. Because in this position, I didn't move my knight away. I played queen d5. Now, queen d5 does three things. It protects the knight, it attacks the rook, and it attacks mate in 2. Now, if the queen was back here, and he didn't play that move, and he just played like, let's say this, and I came here, or even let's just say the rook was open still. And let's say I came here and I attacked this and that. At least he has this move. It's not good, but I can't take the rook, and I don't have checkmate here because the queen's guarding the back rank, and the rook's guarding the back rank. But after queen c7, now he can't stop all these threats. It's GG. His best move is actually king h8, and then that defends mate. I take the rook. He takes my knight, but then after this, I'm hitting his queen, and once the queen moves away, I'm attacking his bishop, and that's going to be the game. But in this position, he played rook b8 and fell for a 2-move checkmate. So that was a good game, pretty interesting. But the next game is even better, in my opinion. So hopefully you guys stick around for this. All right, so we have the Sicilian. This is what I usually play. And we'll start the game. We'll speed this up a little bit because this is not an opening video. But all right here, he pins my knight on f6. So I drop my bishop back, and I'm creating threats. The point is, if he plays a random move here, because his knight is blocking his queen from g4, I actually can play this here, and then follow it up with this, and then take the bishop. So that was just a threat I had there. Again, just a threat. Okay, so he takes my knight, he takes, and then he moves my knight. So he doesn't fall for it. Now this would not work, because if he took, and I come here, he just simply takes my knight. If I take his queen, he takes my queen, and he's actually up material, and I'm losing the game. So he didn't fall for it. He's a good player. He plays knight d4, and I just push his knight back. He comes here. Again, I don't want to give up the bishop pair. Notice how he's lunging forward, very aggressive, and I simply just protect my bishop. He brings his queen into the game, again piling up on me here. But now I hit him with a counter shot here. I played c5. Now, c5 is good because it actually wins the bishop. So he can't go anywhere. The only square he can go is here. But since now his queen is overloaded, you might hear this concept before. The queen has too many defenders to guard. I can just simply remove one, and after he takes, now I take this. However, he had a trick up his sleeve. He allowed this to happen because he's such an aggressive player. He took, which is what he had to do. And now after I win the bishop, you'll see he has the rook. So he gets the rook. However, if he did that, at the end of that variation, I get the knight. I still get 2 pieces for the rook. I'm still better here. I'm still at material. But that was not his plan. His idea was not to take the rook immediately. Now he knows he's going to lose the knight anyway. So his plan was knight h6. Because he's going to lose the knight anyway in the variation I showed you, right, after taking the rook. So he decides to get rid of the knight by force, messing up my pawn structure, and then I figured he was going to take the rook. But he can't, because if he takes the rook, I'm attacking his bishop now. After I took back the knight, naturally now I'm attacking his bishop. So now I'll just be up too much material. So after I take the knight, he does not take the rook. He actually takes my knight, attacking my queen and still attacking the rook. And he probably thought he had some mating combinations here. Now, he doesn't. And I saw this, and that's why you can play it into this variation. So the 2 squares that he has to check me on, I'm guarding. So he can't do that. He's attacking my queen, so I have to do something about that. And the rook's going to be a goner. So I already calculated for that. So I just play queen d6. So I'm going for checkmate. If he takes the rook here, that would be GG. Good game. Nice knowing you. And he can't, again, if he just throws in a check here, I would trade queens and I'm up material. I'm just going into a winning endgame. It's not possible. So here, my opponent played g6, stopping checkmate. It's a good move. I brought my rook out of the attack. So I was able to untangle and just wind up being up a piece here. Now he attacks my queen. I move it out of the way. He moves his queen to c3, and he has ideas. He's creating a battery on this diagonal. Now, ideally, you want your queen in front of your bishop. So what I think he was planning on doing is doing something sneaky like that, and then going for mate. Now, I could defend it, but if he moves my queen around, if things shuffle around, he would probably do something like that. Okay, so I just simply develop my bishop and take over a big diagonal. Just putting my pieces on good diagonals, aiming at the king where I, have good, prospects for it. Okay, so here he attacks my queen. Again, it looks like you might be thinking I can take, and we have checkmate because this square is guarded, but the queen comes back if I do that. So actually is adequate defense there. So I slide my queen over to c6, again, meeting his aggression with counterattacks. So I'm now threatening checkmate, which is a pretty big deal. So, again, now he plays f3. Now, I noticed that if I could take this, I could take this. I'll be winning a pawn. It's perfectly reasonable. But, that's a pretty slow game. I'm up a piece, but the stronger I get in chess, the greedier I get. So I want more. There's more I can get out of this position. So what did I play here? Try to pause your videos and find this move. It's not the computer number 1, but it's the number 3 move, and it's a really good move. I played bishop a5. Now, bishop a5 attacks the queen. The rook's behind it, so it's a skewer. However, it's a deflection also. So it's a deflection tactic mixed with a skewer. If he takes, I would play f3, and I'm going for mate here. There's really no way he can stop this mate. Even if he trades rooks and then brings the queen back, I would have check and then check mate. So he's in a lot of trouble there. So what he did here is he played queen d4, and now I took. So you might be wondering here, why don't I just take the rook? Well, if I do that, then he's going to be making a video about me on how to handle aggressive chess players, because then he's going to have check and then check mate. So I didn't do that for that reason. So anyway, I took on f3 anyway. I took an f3 instead. It's a much better move. And he can't stop checkmate. I'm also defending his mating attack, which is the g4 square. And here my opponent was running low on time, and he just threw in this move because that was the only thing he can do. It's a resignable game, and I wound up getting the W. So anyway, if you like this video, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss further content. Get out of here. Go play some chess.